Hey folks, hello, hello, hello. Hi everyone. I want to welcome you all to Continuously Delivering, Managing, and Scaling Apps, a tour of Heroku. My name is Max Beiser, and I am an engineer at Heroku. It is my first Dreamforce, and I appreciate you all coming to see me instead of going to Parker's talk, because I'm going to be clearly more engaging and interesting. Anyone out there ever heard of Heroku? Got some fans, some users? Excellent, great. Well, we are going to talk about what Heroku is and what it might be able to do for you. The thing to know about Heroku is that it is a platform as a service. And what that really means is that we serve as an abstraction layer on top of infrastructure as a service, so that when your business requires custom software written in popular open source languages, you can host your web app on our platform and connect back to your Salesforce instance, which we're going to talk about a little later. But this acronym really could best be summed up by apps and not ops, or as some of my marketing friends like to say, the fastest way to go from idea to URL. So Heroku is really based around you writing custom software that delivers value to your customers. And Heroku allows you to write software in the language of your choice. It doesn't limit you, say, to Apex. And we, on Heroku, support these 8 languages and frameworks officially on the platform. That is Go, Java, Node, Clojure, PHP, Python, and Scala. But we also support many other open source languages that I'm going to tell you about a bit later. But to take a step back, if you want to write custom software for your customers, there's a hive of complexity around the choices you need to make before you even really get into writing line 1 of your app. You need to choose which operating system you're going to use. You need to set up a storage solution, what database. You need to have networking and monitoring so someone gets paged if there's a problem with your site. You need to have your containerization orchestration all set up. And there's all these steps and configuration that you need to do before you even write line 1 of the software that really matters to your customers. And Heroku aims to take this complexity and shrink it down into deploy, manage, and scale. A few quick stats. We're serving about 13 billion requests a day. There have been 6 million apps created on the platform, and there are over 150 add-on services in our ecosystem. We're going to touch on what that means here in a second. But first, this is what it looks like to create your first Heroku app. You install the Heroku CLI, and that allows you to run Heroku create. You can pass an app name, or you can let Heroku choose an app name for you. When you do that, it creates an empty dyno. A dyno is really just a container. We were doing containerization before Docker was even a thing. So that allows you to just simply push your code from your command line to Heroku, and the Heroku build system will detect what type of app you're trying to build, in this case a PHP app, and it will set up the runtime for you. In this case, it'll bring in PHP and Apache. It'll also bring in all your external dependencies. So for PHP, this would be, say, your composer.json. For a Node app, this would be it from NPM, or for Ruby, Ruby Gems, Maven for Java. And so it brings in all your dependencies and then compresses and minimizes your code into what we call a slug, and then injects that slug into the dyno, the container, and launches it to the web. And so with one command, you have created an app that you now have a unique URL for. Now we talked a bit about add-ons, right? The 150 add-ons in our marketplace. And that's because just building an app doesn't really work for modern web, right? You're going to need lots of other things. Your app's going to need a database, and you're going to need full text search, and you're going to need monitoring, and you're going to need content delivery and email and all the other services that a modern web app requires. And for that, you want to turn to Heroku add-ons. And to explore our add-ons ecosystem, you want to look at the Heroku Elements Marketplace, sort of the app store for the custom software you're building. And here in this picture down to your left, you'll be able to see that there are add-ons where you can, say, add a database, all the things we've been talking about. Over to the right, you'll be able to see build packs. And what build packs allow you to do is to customize, extend, or decorate the build process we saw a few slides back, which is really powerful because it allows you to write apps that can be hosted on Heroku that aren't in our officially supported languages. I, for example, really like the language Elixir. Any Elixirists out there? Okay, just me. Well, it's not one of our officially supported languages, but there's an open source community build pack that allows you to write apps in Elixir and host them on Heroku. There's actually a Salesforce open source booth over there where they talk about a prediction.io build pack for Heroku, where you can build your own custom machine learning and run that on Heroku. That's really fascinating to me. And here in the middle, you can see buttons. Buttons allow you to do a one-click install of an app. So it's a way to get started really quickly learning how the platform works. And enough of the slides. Let's do a live demo. Let's push an app to Heroku. I'm going to go ahead and bump up that font size maybe just a touch. All right. And I will create a directory. I'm going to call it Max Loves You, Dreamforce. And inside this directory, I'm going to create the most simple app that will run on Heroku. It happens to be PHP, but it really could be anything. And to do that, I will go ahead and echo hello, Dreamforce. And I will send that into index.php. And I'll go ahead and create a Git repository. I'll go ahead and add my code, and I'll commit. All right, so now I have a local Git repository where my code I've been working on lives. From that, I can run Heroku. I can hopefully spell it correctly, and I can run Heroku create. And I'll pass it Max Loves You DF as the app name. And so now I have a URL that just has an empty container, right? I haven't pushed my code to it, but I have my URL. And the Heroku CLI went ahead and added a remote for me. So I can just do git push Heroku master. And just like we saw before, the build system is going to detect that this is a PHP app. It's going to set up the runtime. There are no dependencies. This is a one-line app. And it's going to go ahead and push it to Heroku. So now if I come back here to my empty app, and I refresh, and I wait for conference Wi-Fi, we have hello, Dreamforce. And that's how simple it is to get started on the platform. Create an app, and then you git push Heroku master. And to show you that this isn't a canned demo that we're actually doing this live, we'll actually go ahead and edit this. Let's do... I'm so happy to be here. All right. I will add that, and I will commit. And now, with another push to Heroku, it's going to go through the same steps. And back over here. As we wait for that conference Wi-Fi to kick in. I believe in you. There we are. We have live updated our Heroku app. So that's all well and good, right? I have a one-line PHP app. It's not that exciting. Let's actually look at some of the other features you can do here at Heroku. So right now, we have one dyno, right? We have one container serving our web request and saying, hello, Dreamforce, I'm happy to be here. But with Heroku and dynos, we allow you to scale both vertically and horizontally. And what that means is, to scale vertically, you can add more CPU, add more memory to the dyno, the container running your code. And to scale horizontally, you would simply add more instances of those containers to serve more web requests concurrently. So we're actually going to do both of that here live. First things first, I'm going to split the screen here. And I'm going to go ahead and tail the logs for my app. So over on the right side, we have the logs for our app. And what I'm going to do is start by, say, attaching a database. We talked about the add-ons in the earlier part of this talk. So I will do Heroku add-ons create, Heroku PostgreSQL, And just like that, I have attached the database to my app. I also want to point out, if some of you listening to me are not developers or not command line folks, that everything in Heroku you can interact via the CLI, which I'm a developer, I prefer. You can also interact via the web UI, and we also have an API that allows you to interact programmatically. So we have our database attached. Let's go ahead and do some scaling. Say my little PHP app gets mentioned at the keynote, right? I want to be able to scale up and handle a ton of traffic. So I can do Heroku PS scale web for my web process equals 50. So that's going to do the horizontal scaling, give me 50 containers serving my app. And I want to go ahead and scale vertically as well, allow for a little bit more CPU in my dyno. So I will set it to a standard 1x dyno. And so what I want you to pay attention to is when I hit enter here, watch the logs on the right side of the screen as I spin up all these containers. There they go. And so just like that, I am able to scale up and down. You can also turn on auto scaling to allow elastic scaling of that horizontal scaling for your dynos. And that concludes our live demo portion of the afternoon. Let's get back into the slides. I want to talk a bit about Heroku data services. Heroku offers 4 add-ons that are in the data space. We have Heroku Postgres for your relational stores. We have Heroku Redis for your key value needs. We have Apache Kafka on Heroku, which I'm really excited about because it allows for more event-driven architecture. Have you seen the talk at the Streamforce about the Heroku event stream? This would be analogous to that. And then I want to give a special shout out to Heroku Connect, which is our product that allows you to create a bidirectional sync between your Heroku Postgres data and your Salesforce instance. So we have a demo over in the Dev Forest over there that shows an e-commerce app where if someone makes a sale, it not only updates my Heroku database, but also syncs back to my Salesforce database. And I can use that to create a seamless experience between the custom software I'm writing and my Salesforce instance. And lastly, I want to talk about the part of Heroku that I'm personally as a developer most excited about, and it's called Heroku Flow. And the reason I'm excited about this is because this has changed the way that I work and the way that my team works. And Heroku Flow is really just an opinionated way to build software. And it's made up of 2 components. One is review apps. What review apps allows you to do is connect your repo with apps you're building on Heroku and say, when I send a new pull request to GitHub in my source control, spin up a new ephemeral app that allows, say, my QA engineers or my product manager or my designer to look at the code that I'm writing and approve it. And this is what it kind of looks like. This is GitHub, for anyone who doesn't know. And I have just made a change to some code that I've been writing. And I create what's called a pull request. It is essentially a request to merge new code into the code that gets served to our customers. And when I did that, about halfway down the page, you can see that I have deployed to an app called Incon Staging PR24. That is itself a unique, small Heroku app that represents just the change I've been making in the code in my software as a Heroku app. You can also see just down here at the bottom, we have a Heroku CI enabled. So it allows me to run my automated tests. And so I can know if I broke the build. And we can also set it up where you can't merge into master if my CI doesn't pass on GitHub. And this is really powerful because instead of fighting the rest of my development team for time on staging to check out my code to make sure it doesn't break production, this allows me to spin up apps, one app for every pull request I send. And that's really powerful for our team. And I also want to talk about pipelines, which matches up well with the review app concept. Because what pipelines allow you to do is to connect those disparate Heroku apps into one entity that looks something like this. This is actually a Heroku pipeline for our www site. So if you go to www.heroku.com, you'll be seeing that production app all the way out there on the right side. So we've created 3 stages. We have our production app, which is what our customers are seeing, and is scaled appropriately with enough resources to serve requests with the response time we want. But then we have a staging column here that allows as a most production-like setting for us to test before we ship code live to our customers. And then over here in the leftmost column, we have the review apps that allow, say, my product manager to look at what my team's been building and check out each of those apps individually, and allows us not to have to fight over who gets to share time on our shared staging server. And so that really brings together the three main points of this talk, which is Heroku allows you to deploy, manage, and scale. And the reason that I think you should take something away from this is because the custom software you write shouldn't be about managing the infrastructure and setting up a pipeline for yourself. It should be about delivering value to your customers. And Heroku allows you as a developer, or allows your development team, to focus on what matters most, and that's delivering business value. If you want more information, you can visit www.heroku.com. You can also visit devcenter.heroku.com for documentation and how to get started on the platform. Like I said, we have not one, but 2 Heroku booths over there in the dev forest that are open today, and they'll be there tomorrow. And I also encourage you to reach out to me. I also want to point out that there is, in fact, a Heroku Flow trailhead. So if you're a trailheader, you can do a trailhead on Heroku Flow. And I want to say thank you all very much for listening.